Welcome, everyone, to the NEKO-ALPHA show. Today, we're continuing our interview series where we talk with NFT creators and founders here in Japan. And our guest today is Hope. Hope is a Japan-based artist and a key sort of legendary member of the Japan NFT community. Not to mention, he's also a holder of trilingual superpowers. If you've seen this show before, if you've joined our spaces, you've definitely heard Hope speak. But we're going to get into things a little bit more in depth today. Before we start, please remember nothing you hear today is financial advice. Please do your own research. This show is commentary, info sharing, and all the opinions you hear from the speakers are just that, opinions. And so with that, let's jump right into it. Let's get started with Hope.
Hope-san, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, guys. How you doing?
You help us so much with different things. You help the community so much. You're a part of so many different projects and things going on. We want to kick it off by just kind of hearing the story of Hope and who you are and what you're doing.
Right. Okay, so thank you, guys. My name is Hope, and I'm a butterfly artist. And, well, what I usually do is also, apart from helping other communities, whether it's English community or Japanese community, to interact each other and being a bridge for both ends, I also do create butterflies and creatures and create voice NFT, something that a few people is doing currently in the NFT community. And recently, I've been experimenting with 3D objects and so on.
So your art has really evolved quite a bit. I think we've known you for, it hasn't even been 6 months. It's been a few months. And you were creating butterflies at the time that we met. And then since then, you've, as you said, 3D images, a lot of different like moving animated butterflies and some other joint collaboration projects. So maybe talk a little bit about the evolution that you've had in your art.
Oh, yes. So first, what I was doing originally before joining so my art background goes before joining the actual NFT community, because I was drawing on a special Japanese cardboard called shikishi, not colored papers. It's shikishi. So it's like piece of paper that it's quite thick, so I can draw stuff on it. And I love to give my butterflies a detail of scratching the surface of the wings with something really sharp in order to give those like little tiny scale kind of texture. So I was starting from there, and then I met few people that was in the NFT community, and they helped me to join the community. And after that, I was little by little, acquiring another things, whether it's digital enhancement, and then I learned Photoshop, and then I started with the Clip Studio and learning a bunch of more stuff. And yeah, and eventually, when it comes to like having my butterfly, and I thought a lot of stuff, like it's somewhat of what I made. Some of them may look real, but it's not exactly in that place. So I thought to myself, what if, like inside of Metaverse, you can actually have the butterfly itself in front of you and admire it for all directions? Like it doesn't matter, it's not on paper, you can see it and 360 and so on. So that's why I decided to make an actual 3D butterflies. And also, I before going to the 3D, I went to what was that, like video enhancement, and make my butterfly pictures move, like flapping its wings and so on.
Yeah, even in the short time we've known you, it's been like such a privilege to see sort of the evolution and how things have come around, and as a frequent guest on our Twitter Spaces as well, we've had the privilege to sort of follow along and see that evolution of how things are coming together. You mentioned doing the voice NFTs, something you're getting into now. Can you describe a little bit like what that is?
Oh yeah.
As far as the voice is concerned, like
Oh yeah.
what does that sound like? What is it? What does it do?
The voice NFT is that I have a particular collection called Voice of Hope, which is we all creators, collectors, and so on. We all people are in Twitter spaces, and sometimes it gets exhausting. Sometimes it gets tiring. Sometimes I will not say like it's get toxic, but it's a bit difficult to be in there and stay for a long term. And people get like, oh, I want to quit. I can't do this with it. I cannot deal with this anymore, and so on. So what I do is just make this voice NFTs and make people. I will not say make people happy, but give them some sort of hope, like literally saying that you are doing great. Um, Taking a rest is also part of your job, and like that kind of stuff.
Kind of affirmations,
Exactly.
things like that. That's interesting because like it's a good point. Like most of NFT stuff happens on Twitter, right? And as far as communications and networking and things like that happens on Twitter initially. Maybe it bleeds over into Discord, of course, naturally, but Twitter is such a frenetic place, right? There's so much coming at you all the time, and
Yeah.
it's like a full-time job almost to keep up with things, especially in the NFT space, which even if we've only known you for 6 months or a little bit more, it feels like like the NFT space moves in dog years, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like 7 times the actual, feels like 7 times the actual time.
Yeah.
um
Exactly.
but yeah, like it does get overwhelming, right? So like following Twitter, staying up with all the different spaces that we need to be in on, and talking to all the people and networking and things like that. So that's an interesting thing. Sort of, you're sort of looking to provide kind of a not a distraction per se, but like a break from that, like telling people, "Hey, chill out a little bit because you need to."
Yeah, like because a lot of people they get compliments about their art actually. Like I see a lot of people getting say like, "Oh, this person released a new drop, like don't miss it," or those kind of stuff. But I well, in my opinion, maybe it's just my Twitter feed. I did not see that much people saying about the actual person that's creating the art. Like
Right.
you can go to the Japanese Twitter space. I mean, like the Japanese Twitter community in the NFT, and a lot of people, I think they feel that they have to constantly create art in order to, in order to be in the space. Because when they feel sick or they literally have to, take a rest from that Twitter space, they often apologize for it. Like, sorry, I won't be able to be here for a few days and whatnot. And I feel like so they have this feeling that they have to apologize because, and when I'm thinking about it, it's maybe so you are not gonna post your paintings, your works, and what you are doing. You won't be able to support people by sharing art and those kind of stuff. And I think that it's something secondary actually. Like people should be not only complimented by what they do or what the skills they have, but also just be themselves. So that is why another reason I created Voice of Hope.
That's an interesting thing to say. Well, there's a lot of, not just in the NFT space, but kind of in social media in general, a lot of pressure on like YouTubers and TikTokers to Instagrammers to constantly be creating. And they get so much pressure that they burn out and they just can't deal with it anymore. And then so conversely, there's people saying, oh, we need some sort of to bring some balance into it and talk a bit about mental health and take care of yourself. So I know that's something that you're very concerned with. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your story in that area?
Yeah. So actually, my journey to entering the NFT was not something like easy ride. I originally was not supposed to be. It sounds strange, but I was originally not exactly supposed to be in the Twitter space. Actually, I was meant to be doing other jobs in other places and not exactly here chilling with a lot of people, enjoying the community and drawing butterflies was not supposed to be my what I would do for a living. But a lot of stuff happened. Depression hits me like, yeah, hitting me really, really hard. I fell rock bottom and I went through a lot of stuff, and I realized that a lot of people actually cannot speak about it, not because only that that they feel like not talking about it actually, but it's a strange feeling like when you have something bad, something really bad that happened to you, and that thing that happened to you is so bad that you feel guilty even to share to someone, because like it feels like you giving a burden to that person. It's really difficult, and having that feeling of I'm enough being myself, it's really difficult to find. And me just trying to heal from those stuff, and I can totally understand in that manner that it's sometimes difficult to say people like, I've did this, I did that. Like, I will not say to it's a Japanese word. I cannot say it now in English. It's called jiman, like saying the things that you
But like
do, like the things that you work
boasting.
hard. Yeah, yeah. But it's really hard sometimes to do that, right? So if you're, for example, uh, like you can be really good at something else than art, like drawing. Apart from doing kawaii girls, maybe you have a skills for programming. Maybe you have like you can create games, or maybe you can do this and do that. But it's really difficult to say it, and that hits really bad for your mental health. And like it's kind of tricky situation, because it's not exactly that the people will not admire you whether you can draw pictures or whether you cannot draw pictures, but it's like a mind trick. Like you start thinking that if I cannot do this, people will not interact with me, like people will forget about me and those kind of stuff. And it's so, in order to, I know how it feels in a manner. So that's, yeah, so that's why I do like my best to, it's not encouraging people, but it's like a reminder that they just being themselves. Not, it's okay if you're not able to draw stuff. It's okay if you're not able to collect stuff. It's totally okay if you're just laying in your bed, like arms outstretched and doing nothing literally because you don't feel like it. It's totally okay. And there's, well, me in particularly, if you breathe, if you're, if you have your diaphragm moving, and I think it's all okay. Like you live, you breathe, you're a human being, you're a good person, then that's enough.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting perspective. Like the balance between like the jiman, the Japanese word, like boasting or like big upping yourself. The balance between that and just being yourself. Interesting. We've heard a lot. We've talked about this on Spaces as well. That the in the NFT space, there is like from the jump, from the when I first started paying attention, which is I don't know, a year and a half ago, a little bit more. Like I noticed early on, there was a lot of conversation about mental health. I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's why is that here? Why is that in this space? I don't know. I don't know if it's something, maybe you guys have thoughts about that. I don't know if it's something about the ambient positivity in sort of in what we might call like Web3. Like it's not the in Web2, right? Like everyone knows about toxic social media and all that kind of stuff, where being online is not always the most positive thing to do. But for whatever reason, I'd be curious about everyone's thoughts. Like there's something more, there's something that lends itself to positivity in the Web3 NFT space. And so we have heard more about like mental health stuff, and people being a little more comfortable talking about that, and talking about how their experience with NFTs helped sort of bring them out of their struggles to a certain degree. I don't know if like why does that happen? Do you guys have any ideas about that? Why does that happen in the NFT space?
I'm gonna throw out a thought on that, and I'd love to hear what Hope thinks. But a lot of, I mean, there are a lot of the NFT space is mostly creators, or a lot of creators, right? So, and I think people who are creating, I think often are dealing with sort of stuff internally as part of the creative process. Is, the creative process and dealing with your stuff is kind of one and the same. And then, as you mentioned, I think there is this feeling like, oh, you can talk about it in this space. It's a pretty supportive, and maybe a lot of people are also coming from the other spaces, like they were heavy into the. I've heard people say that they were like, full on YouTubers, or Instagramming or whatever, and they felt like they were becoming a slave to that process and not really monetizing anyways. And then they came over to NFTs and they felt a whole different kind of freedom. So this maybe the supportiveness and the freedom, and then the sort of critical mass of many creative people. Maybe there's something there. What are your thoughts on that, Hope?
Well, what I think is that it's exactly like, so there's this point, whether it's in real life, for example, most of the creators, they can be creating something, and there's a lot of artists, for example, that they are getting appreciated what they do and their art and so on here in the NFT spaces, but not exactly in the real world, right? So it feels way much positive because, I forget the game. There was this game, interesting game. I do not remember how exactly was the name, but it's like you are giving a white paper and a blank paper, and then you have to draw a piece of art. But every time you draw, the computer, I mean, the AI inside of the game will tell you this is too much artistic, this is too unique, maybe you should use more red, maybe you should use more yellow, this is too much yellow, this is too much red, this is too much of that, too much of those. And I think that is what happens in real life most oftenly. So a lot of people find positivity here because we all went through that. I think most of the artists went through that. How you say, like, bitter moments when people start telling you that your art is not enough because you are drawing too uniquely. But in the NFT community, in Twitter spaces, no one will tell you like you have to draw it this way. So you get appreciated for what you do rather than what you make for people to look at you. So I think that's a great way to get positivity because you are being yourself.
That's a really
So
good point. Yeah, go ahead, Neil.
yeah, I just want to clarify. So you're saying that the NFT space is very supportive of people doing their own thing. Is that
Yeah,
your impression?
yeah. Like what I think is that people love diversity in a certain sense. Like, for example, in the Japanese NFT community, you can see a bunch of people drawing anime type of girls, illustrations of kawaii girls, and so kind of stuff. But everyone has their different art style, right? Like, you can compare, for example, if I take an example from people that went to the NEKO-ALPHA show, you can take an example from AK-san drawing her mysterious girls, and you can also take PPP-san drawing her one-of-ones, right? So it's
Yeah.
the same theme, but total different touch of art, right? But there's gonna be, like, for example, of course, Saito Naoki-san's girls too. So it's totally different, but no one's gonna say you have to draw more like PPP-san, or no one's gonna say you have to draw more like AK-san, or no one's gonna say you have to draw more like Saito Naoki-san and those kind of stuff, right? So I think that is the beautiful part of the NFT community. Like, everyone is supportive, not only art-wise, but diversity in art. Like, you don't have to create what everyone else is creating. Like, you just go crazy with your pencils and your design and make something of your own uniqueness.
So that's really cool, but that makes me wonder about I think a lot of people would say that the NFT space, like if you look at sort of like where the real action is happening, maybe it's probably sort of North America centric, but everybody trying to make big collections and stuff, and they're in a lot of ways people are like, well, what's the meme right now? What's the thing that everyone's doing, and then trying to do that. So do you feel like that in the scene in Japan is not so much like that people are
Oh, oh
more
no,
trying
like
to be artistically true to themselves?
I know. I mean, like, there's a lot of type of people. Whether it's like they chase the current, trend of art and what type of art is being purchased recently, and they just go crazy with that, and they just go with the flow. I may say, but it is totally okay. Like, so I think most of people will struggle when they are in that plane, when they are doing something that they don't actually like. Like, you can go make money out of the trend, but if you don't like it, it won't last long. You can make one of ones and make money out of it while you like making semi-generative pictures, right? So I think it's not exactly like who is doing what, but I think it's more like there's more
Being
people being
authentic,
true
maybe.
to themselves.
Yeah, like being authentic.
Yeah.
I think that's a good observation, really, and I think maybe that's one of the sources of positivity is other artists hearing from other artists who maybe have been in like the corporate world, like just churning out what someone else wants. If they're an animator at a studio or something like that, it's like they never really get to do exactly what they want to do. But in the NFT space, it's like, this is exactly what I want. This is what I want to do. This is my work. And then other artists see other artists doing that, and it's like, oh, this is positive. I can be myself. I can do what I want to do. On the other hand, though, like you said, like you were saying, Neil, like there is maybe that pressure to chase the trend as well to get that success. But to Hope's point, it's kind of there's not a lot of longevity there. Like you can chase that trend, but what happens when it changes? Uh, you've lost sort of your being true to yourself, and the trend is gone. So what do you do then?
Well, Reno, you made a good point about. We've actually had a lot of people on our spaces when we ask them about their background say that they're not doxxed and they have a full-time job as a illustrator for sometimes famous companies, and they're doing the NFT thing on the side as a way to kind of release to do something they really want to be doing. We've definitely heard that from some of the people on our spaces.
Yeah, and I hope the community develops to a point where like genuinely talented artists can find sustainability, as the community grows, where it's not just a side thing, it's not just a hobby or a catharsis, to do exactly, oh, I'm doing only what I want to do. But you can only do that for so long if you're not compensated in some way. So maybe that'll be a development as the general global NFT community grows, that there will be sustainability in that. And like the manga artists have mentioned, like they don't get royalties for secondary sales of because that's a huge industry in Japan, right? Like secondhand manga and stuff like that, the physical products. But the original artists or creators don't get any royalties from that. That's one of the coolest things about NFTs is that you can build in royalties for an artist. That's one of the things that got me interested in the jump, was like, oh, this is the future of like copyright and royalties for artists and things like that. So another point of positivity, I suppose.
Yeah, and not only for drawing, but also for music too. Because like, what was that application? I forget. There was this certain application that you can put your music on, but in order to get like $10 or
Spotify?
$100,
Are you talking about Spotify?
I think like you have to get like million views in order to get a bit of money.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
exactly.
it's very, very low amount
Yeah,
for the streaming.
exactly. But for example, in the NFT space, you can release your music having editions. Like you can, for example, imagine being like 100 edition of the music NFT that you create, and it can be literally you don't need no CD company to order CD, and so you don't have to have the stock of the stockpile of the CDs. And if that doesn't sell out, so it doesn't take much space, you don't have to have a intermediate company in the middle, and you know that they take what is testudio in English?
Commission.
Yeah, commission money and those kind of stuff. So like when you do music in NFT, you're like it just goes straight to the artist or the artist team that they're creating. So it's like one of the what I think is one of the purest way to support the artist itself. So that's
Absolutely.
also positive too.
Totally, you're right. Like the music industry is like one of the worst, right, offenders as far as how artists get treated. And like Snoop Dogg's doing some work in that space to try to bring the music industry into NFTs. I don't know how it's. I haven't looked into it recently, but Neil, you hold one of Snoop Dogg's songs, right?
I do, and not only that, man. This is so cool because I just got my Snoop Dogg merch, Def Records merch. It's like
That's awesome.
it's a yeah for getting that NFT. Like I forgot about it. It just showed up. I signed up like maybe 2 months ago, and then there's this package. Like, oh, I wonder what this is, and it had a t-shirt and a hat too.
I can't wait to see you rocking, Death Row NFT T-shirt. I'm looking forward to that.
I can't wait to rock it, man. I'm gonna
Yeah, like the wonderful
gonna be
thing
doing
about
that.
music industry and NFT is that something really cool. Like the last time I do not remember who was the artist. It was a Japanese musician, I think. So he was searching a jacket for the new album, which that artist like choose from NFTs artists.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
so you mean like album artwork?
Yeah, like I
Oh,
do
that's
not
cool.
remember the name. I think it was like an artist that something rhymes with Shimizu. Yeah, but I remember
Shimizu
like
rhymes with Shimizu. Mimizu.
I did not like. I think one of the artwork of Yukari-san was elected.
Oh, that's amazing. Yukari-san, who
Yeah,
with whom you did that collaboration, metaverse
yeah,
collaboration. Yeah, awesome.
yeah. I think and yeah,
Open
I
to
think in
share.
that way, not exactly like. So I think when it comes to album or jacket creating for music and if music or something like that, it's have to be a it's my stereotype, and I may be biased. It's not a like official conclusion or something like that. I think most music artists will go rely on the people that already have a name on their profile, like really famous artists to make a really famous artist that have a lot of followers and they make their jacket and so on, right? But having an artist like searching for an NFT artist that it's just exactly, I will not say the dream, but like people will not recognize you in real life, but being the NFT community and you can participate in those opportunities. And I think that is one of the like positivity that you can find in the NFT.
Totally, yeah. Maybe this is a good, actually a good segue into one thing we wanted to ask you about is, in addition to your personal works, we know you're doing some and have done some collaborations with other artists and other projects. In addition to ours, we can talk about that at some point. But could you give us maybe an update, maybe a little bit of quick background of the collaborations you've done and anything that's anything that's coming down the way that you're going to be doing?
Oh yeah, about collaborations, I most do collaborations with artists, and not exactly as a project. I may be doing like translations and those kind of stuff, but not exactly involved in creating stuff yet. Who knows? Maybe someone wants a butterfly like yours. And yeah, and I do like collaboration, whether it's as you guys visited the own cyber gallery stuff. I may be doing collaborations in gallery. I may be doing collaborations in not exactly like me drawing a butterfly. Like for example, someone draws a cool guy, like really like cool anime character male, and then I can how you say, like put a voice on it.
Right, you're sort of adding media on top of it
Yeah.
in a way. Yeah, you mentioned the on cyber curation.
Yeah.
That was great, and on cyber is such a great, like, simple, easy to use platform. And our only, as I mentioned the other day, when we had AOT-san, Artist Oriented Tokyo, as a guest, our featured guest on Spaces. Like the only complaint I have about that is that his exhibitions expire and we can't go back and see him again. Maybe that'll change in the future, or maybe it's like in real life, either you get to the museum and see the exhibition or you don't. But yeah, those are cool. Anything that you have coming up, we can mention our collaboration, but anything else on the side that you have that's going to be coming up anytime soon?
Not particularly. Like just me. Me trying to build something new, like new butterflies and so on. And since I started using some AI as a background of my art pieces, like yeah, it was really interesting and wonderful experience doing that.
Yeah. Well, one collaboration we can mention, and it's a brief sort of shameless plug for ourselves as well, is our NEKO collab project, where we're inviting and taking requests to collaborate from certain artists who we've worked with and have a relationship with, or even artists who reach out to us who are into what we're doing and want to be involved. But the NEKO collab project is basically with our Genesis Mint. We're inviting Genesis collaborators to work with us on features or traits in our NEKOs. And we're very happy to say that one of our earliest confirmed collaborators is Hope-san, actually. And we've yet to determine exactly what trait we're going to work on, but we have a number of options. Our traits are like a t-shirt, or the sort of the body of the NEKO, the background, smaller things like the collar or headgear, which could be a hat, so on and so forth. Or even a sub background, which is like the behind the NEKO, but in front of the background. I keep envisioning like butterfly wings on the back of a NEKO, but we'll figure it out what exactly it's going to be. So that's one of your upcoming collaborations I can talk about for sure. We're looking forward to working with you on that.
Yep, thank you. I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Okay. Well, do you guys want to move into some questions? Just we sort of have some canned questions, like what do you think about the NFT space in Japan? What's the future? Things like that. We'll get into a little bit of that. And maybe before we move into that, like I've been curious. I've wanted to ask, like, we've talked for months and months and months. We haven't met you in person. We know you have trilingual superpowers of English, Japanese, and Spanish. And I was just sort of curious, like, which of these languages is your native language? And in English, like, I can't quite get my head around your accent. And just as someone who's interested in linguistics, I'm like, this is a Spanish-y accent, but also maybe some Japanese. I'm not sure what's going on. What's your native language?
Yeah. So,
or which of your languages are your native languages? Maybe.
So actually, my native language is Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay, this is why I can do also Spanish and Japanese. So when I came here to Japan, and my mother brought us here to Japan, so we have to go to the school, right? So we have to learn Japanese. But my mother was really strict and the way she raised us in in the language plane, because my mother was like, so you guys have plenty of opportunity to speak Japanese in outside of the house, but inside, like under my roof, you only speak Spanish. Kind of interesting. And so inside of the house, we all speak in Spanish, and outside of the house, we speak Japanese, and it was something like that.
I
Yeah,
see.
so back and forth, and yeah, eventually we started learning both fluently, and
Cool.
yeah,
Interesting. So it sounds like your mom was on top of it. She got the rules enforced. And it's so great it's one of the reasons I always call it a trilingual superpower, because obviously we're here in Japan, we're in the Japanese space, so we need Japanese. And then so much of what happens in the world, if almost effectively all of what happens in the world and in the NFT space happens in English. But we also have a lot of connections, particularly in the southwestern US. We've heard you speak Spanish with people on Spaces who are tuning in from, I can't remember the guy's name. I think he's in Texas, but is a Spanish speaker. He tunes in to Spaces occasionally. So you've got like 3 excellent languages nailed down. So it really paid off. The strictness of your mom's strictness paid off.
yep.
I'm sure we'll continue to do so. Anyway, yeah, just curious. I'm just curious about the linguistic history. It's fascinating.
The interesting part is that I didn't learn English at the time.
That came later.
My process for how I learned, my process for how I learned other languages is like, for me, just for me, I will not say you should do this. I will not say you should do that. But for me, it's like hearing a new language. It doesn't have to be just English. Any language that you do not know, it's like you can go in a rapid space, but what you do actually is what you've been doing when you were a baby. Like you start learning by hearing a lot of that language. You don't have to understand it. And there's
Right.
going to be some certain words that is really easy for you to mimic.
Right.
Like,
So you're talking like just straight immersion. Like you got to just jump in.
yeah, like straight up jump in, and there's going to be some words that you're going to be able to mimic. Most of those words, I do not know why the human brain is made that way, but most of those words may be some bad words, but you can mimic it nonetheless. So from that, you start like really like a bit old baby, like you're gonna start saying me wants car, or me wants that, and me wants those. Like you go straight up from the baby stage, and little by little, like it's a bit more faster since you have the basic knowledge of what a language is.
Right.
Yeah, so something like that.
It's really great to like we really appreciate like getting into like some of this personal stuff, like Tony, I think it was Tony Vega said in Spaces this week, it's like people spend so much time trying to build a brand and just spinning their wheels when they could probably do things much more effectively by just sharing their personality and sharing who they are and a little bit about their history and that kind of thing. So it's really great to get that from you. So we hear a little bit more like what's behind what's behind your trilingual superpowers and all of that. So really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I think so as we sort of cruise into the last section, we have some sort of, we'll keep it conversational, but we have some sort of like standard kind of form questions, that we want to get your take on just the general space, sort of what you think about where Japan is and stuff like that. Steve, you want to jump into a little bit of those?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say this language conversation, you've been it's amazing in the NFT space and for so many different projects and so many different creators here. So thank you so much. So we were talking about how you're collaborating, and that was sort of more on the art level, but really you've been collaborating so much by helping projects and helping creators. And of course, your language skill has been key to that. But also, you're just you participate in what they're doing, and you kind of help different creators with different projects do different things. So I
Yep.
want to just point that out. And if you have any comments on that,
Yeah, like I would like to more people to seek out for help when it's language wise,
okay,
because
so you're looking to help more people with
yeah,
language.
like not
Yeah.
not exactly like I'm gonna help you on a project, but generally anything. Like generally anything. Like it can be just literally, hey, hope I got this email saying this person want to do a collab with me, or this person want to open a merch project with me, but they want to open this zip file. I do not know if that person is actually real, right?
Mhm.
And those type of stuff. Like yeah, there's a lot of scams and those kind of stuff in these days, and most of them are English. I heard that nowadays there's some of in Japanese. So,
Mm.
but yeah, like if they could reach me out and say like, you know what, hope I cannot understand this. Like, would you help me? Like, if it's valuable or not? And yeah,
Amazing. I mean, you're exactly like the definition of. I mean, it's overused, this term "wagme," or this this spirit of NFT Twitter or NFTs, but you really embody that. You really do that, and we know that for sure. In our project, you've helped us out quite a bit.
thank you.
Appreciate that. And some people may not know you've got your own community. I mean, you help out different communities, you help out different creators and projects, but you have your own community that is quite strong and quite vibrant. You've got your own Discord, Cup of Hope. Do you want to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about that a little bit? That's something that
yeah,
you don't really actively promote that like shill it in a way, but I think it's very organically grown, and I'm a proud member of that Discord. So maybe talk a
yeah,
little bit about that. People don't know about it.
yeah. Okay, so about the Cup of Hope that I have is what I do is if someone holds my NFT, I invite them to a Discord channel called a Cup of Hope, that it's just about like people can how you say it? Like it feels lonely when you quit social media, and it feels lonely and tiring, and it itches to go back, and it's not that good if you're meant to do like it's not social media detoxing is the word. So it's a place when you can just chill out and share anything, like shit posting or just sharing, I have only this much ingredients in order to make food, what can I make out of it, or just people needing affirmation of what they're doing, like just told good stuff, and being positive, and just a place for that. And me just posting sometimes like I'm working on this, there's gonna be a new art, or there's gonna be a new this, new that. And it's not exactly like other, it's kind of unique Discord server, because it's not something like exactly have to be active, or exactly have to be like a lot of people just interacting with each other. It's just like if they feel tired, there's some place they can be. Like here, all the people will not say anything bad to you. They're not toxic people, and they're all just nice. And we all know, and we all know the importance of that when people needs help. Yeah, so it's something like that. So it's not exactly active. I would love to see a lot of people interacting each other, but at the same time, it is also okay not to be, because I feel like, so if people are not in my Discord, so they are feeling great, they are doing what they want to do, and they are not in need is specifically like a place to heal, and that is something really good. But at the same time, if someone needs to take a step back and take things easy, it's also a great. So
That's cool. It's like a break, a place where you can go be social and like get away from the insanity a little bit, maybe.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think most of the holders, most of the activities in Japanese, but of course, as a trilingual person, you do have a lot of English in there as well. So it is really a great space, and I like going in there from time to time and vibing with you and vibing with the people in there. So thank you for that.
And
Go
I
ahead.
renewed the Discord a little bit. So for the English speakers, English speaker have a role called English speaker. So and there's this text channel specifically for English speakers. And yeah, it changed quite a bit in this few days.
I'll go back in there and check it out. I haven't been there in a little bit,
Yep.
but now I'm really inspired to go in there, and it is a great space, and you always have uplifting and really kind of inspiring comments from time to time, and you talk about your lunch sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned the ingredients, but it's like, oh, what do you think of the sandwich that I made? It's really funny.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that. And I think like that could be, we haven't talked about what you're thinking in terms of international, growth or expansion, or trying to do more with the international community. But, maybe, people outside of Japan, but maybe that your Discord is an area where you would be able to interact with people overseas if they start to know your collections and start to be holders. Any thoughts about how you're looking to do more things with people overseas?
Well, for people overseas, I think like I should be more on other spaces rather than the Japanese community too, but it's kind of difficult. It's like a double-edged sword. Like it's kind of difficult because I can be in that place for a long time, and at the same I cannot be in the Japanese community which I originated from. So like it's just about the amount of time that we only have 24 hours and we have to sleep like 6 to 7 hours a day and those kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can't be everywhere.
Yeah, like I actually can, but I cannot. Like I have, so you can join PC. You can join spaces from PC. You can join from an iPhone and Android, and do like this, multitask. Shadow clone ninja jutsu type of stuff digitally, but the conversation that you can participate actually is just one, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's where things get difficult. Like I would like to be really in a lot of places, whether it's like being here, being there, but the time only we have so much time in a day. Like from day to evening, there's a lot of spaces, a lot of people that I can interact, but we also have our daily life. Like for example, I like to work out in a day at least to 2 to 3 hours. I have this daily stuff that I want to do. I also have my time for drawing butterflies because if I do not draw a butterfly a day, and it's I get anxious. I sometimes a butterfly a day makes the pain go away.
I like that.
Awesome.
Well,
Yeah,
you're
so-
definitely. I mean, you're definitely in a lot of places. I mean, it's not like you're not doing much. You're helping so many different projects. So that brings me to a question, like because you are involved with so many different projects in the Japan scene, it gives you kind of a bird's eye view. So what do you think about how the Japan NFT scene is evolving, and sort of what's unique about it, and what are the biggest challenges for people in the Japan NFT space?
Yeah, I may say one of the biggest challenge is that they supposed to be here because they didn't like how they were treated in the Web 2 world. And some of the people are acting like they were in the Web 2 world. Like, for example, there was this debate also in the real world that, for example, you can be an artist. So an artist, you provide what you do, right? And you get the money for it. But sometimes, depending on the companies, they said like first you have to do it free in order to see if that work or not. And it's supposedly they didn't like that, so they came here to in the NFT spaces. But some of the people are still in that plan of you give me something first or else. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges, not only as community itself, but also as an artist. Like it's a totally different stuff when people start gathering, like uh I will not say, for example, goblins, like a lot of people gathered together and started making stuff and it just exploded as a project. But yeah, I think, well, it's not exactly only in Japan, but sometimes when I go out there too, like there's stuff going on, like whether it's Web 2 to Web 3, like that part that doesn't exactly shift in that manner, it's one of the biggest challenges that we all gonna have, because there's a lot of people that there's this still the thing that they have a lot of followers, so this person might be right, which is not exactly. Like having a lot of followers and can be a scammer. That actually happened. Let me tell you that. Like there was this Japanese account about Boso Tokyo that has like over 19,000 followers, and all the people followed and go to the main site and they got scammed. But all the people say like, but how did this happen if that account has more than 19 followers and those kind of stuff? So NFTs, I think it's a lot of places are really difficult to engage to the right people, engage to the right information, and being in the right person where you can launch your project really clean. And I think that is one of the most huge challenges that they have. Not exactly like how they are going to promote, how they are going to do stuff. I think it's more something more deep within, like, and that really the part of the beginning of they going to start stuff, I think.
Thanks for that insight on that. Like, it sounds like a lot of it is, there's of course there's unique things in Japan, like unique challenges that we're all sort of trying to get over, and but a lot of it, like you said, is kind of universal as well in the space. At the end of the day, even in Web3 and NFTs, we're still dealing with people, and people are gonna people.
Yep.
That's the way it goes. So, well, I think we'll get to our sort of final question, final topic here, and you've heard our interviews before. You've translated for us in real time, and then done the VO performance in real time as well. And you know what our last question is. Basically, it's if you could say anything to your followers, your fans, what would be your message? People who are interested in you and what you're doing. If you could give them a piece of advice or a statement, anything you want to say, what would that be?
Do not quit being nice. Do not forget being kind to people, because you may not get it all those wonderful returns, but maybe your friends or someone that you love, when they need it, you might get that back. So keep doing what you do, keep creating what you want, keep doing what you love, and of course, you are worth it because you are who you are.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Hope-san, for talking with us today. And I think I speak for all of us when I say we're super excited to share this interview with the space, both domestically here in Japan and around the world. It's another great example of the positivity that's not only coming out of the space in general, but Japan in particular, perhaps, is a few notches higher on the positivity scale. So I think we're very excited to share this. And for those listening who want to learn more about Hope-san and his work, and you saw some examples, of course, here in the video, but if you want to get a closer look, we'll have all the links to his work in the show description below, so please check that out. And yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks for joining the NEKO-ALPHA show. Of course, subscribe and like all the YouTube stuff that people usually say, and share this interview. Let people know what's going on here in Japan from one of the biggest players in the space and one of the most positive people that we know and have had the pleasure to interact with here. For us, for NEKO Alliance, check us out on Twitter as well. You'll find all the links to our relevant portals, including Discord. Of course, this channel links directly to there. Thanks for joining us. Hit those Web 2 portals, pushing us through into Web 3. And so for my co-hosts, co-founders, and for Hope-san, that is everything. Let's wrap it up. Guy in the background, play the outro. Go.